Nope.
Oh,
Slow down. Can you say that again?
Memento Mori.
I'm gonna be dead tomorrow, and then I would probably eat a ton of good food, and hopefully have sex. Honestly,
You are gonna die. We're all gonna die. You can leave life right now. Let that determine what you say and do and think.
Where the mind goes.
Okay, so I have a question for you. What would you do today if you knew you were going to die tomorrow?
the honest answer.
I want you, to think about it. I mean, yeah, you have 24 hours. What are you doing today?
Damn.
And I guess technically tomorrow before you die.
The immature part of me is like, we're flying to Amsterdam.
You have 24 hours, buddy. You're barely getting to Amsterdam by then.
Hey, but damn, would it be a good, really,
6
it'd
hours.
probably take me 12 hours to get there, and then, we'd have a hell of a last 12 hours,
Yeah, well, nowadays that's probably going to look like 6 hours with the layovers and flight delays. So
Damn.
good luck
yeah,
with
okay,
that,
maybe
buddy.
I don't want to spend the last
No,
day
I really want you to
in
think.
an
Yeah.
airport.
No,
Okay.
seriously, think
Last
about this.
day.
Yeah, take
Last
a moment
day.
to really think about it. You have It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
At 5 o'clock tomorrow, you're dropping dead.
Damn.
What are you going to do today
What am I going to do?
in those next 24 hours?
I mean, to be really honest, it's probably not very poetic. I would just call a lot of people. I would call a ton of people, and I would just have one-on-one quality moments and tell them like, hey, it's really sad, but I'm going to be dead tomorrow. But, tell them what they mean to me. Honestly, like people matter to me more than anything else. So I think just being able to say to them the things I've always wanted to say, or to reinforce the things I've said to them and be like, I love you and I think you're amazing for this reason. And then I would probably eat a ton of good food and hopefully have sex. Honestly, I think that's how I would try to spend my last day. I mean, if I could teleport, I would just try to do all of that from San Sebastian in Spain. But if I couldn't teleport, then yeah, that's probably how I would do it.
I love that. Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Why don't you do that today then?
Because I gotta run a business, you
Right.
know? No, I totally see what you're saying though. Like, I feel like I hear this from people when they go through this line of thinking. Often people say, I would tell people how I really feel. And I think the obvious response to that or question is, well, why don't you tell them how you feel? And I don't have a good answer to that. Why don't we?
I don't have a good answer
Why don't we
either.
actually tell people how we feel without, the hyper masculine, hey, I think you're cool. You know what I mean? Like being like, no, I love the shit out of you and you mean the world to me because of this, this, and this, and you changed my life. We don't do that enough.
We don't.
And I don't know why.
We don't do a lot of things that we would do if we knew we were going to die tomorrow enough. And there's this principle in Stoicism, a Latin term called Memento Mori, that encompasses this very idea.
Whoa, slow down. Can you say that again?
Memento Mori.
Okay.
And it encompasses this idea that, look, you are going to die. We're all going to die. It's the only guaranteed thing in life is that we're all going to die. And most people know that, but they park it in the back of their head. And they don't give an opportunity to really think about what that means, that any day that we're living could be our last day on earth. And we hold these grudges and we create these reasons why, we have problems with people or problems in our life. And all of this is kind of flying in the face of this fact that, look, you could be hit by a car tomorrow, right? Why are we holding grudges? Why are we not talking to the people that mean a lot to us? Why are we creating excuses as to why we're putting off what we really want to do in life for these things that we think we have to do in life? In the philosophy of Stoicism, one of the main attributors to Stoicism, his name is Marcus Aurelius. He's a former emperor of Rome. He's the guy that
An old friend of yours?
Yeah, old friend.
The way you kind of said that made me feel like, yeah, my buddy Marcus Aurelius.
If you remember the movie Gladiator,
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius is the one that Joaquin Phoenix kills towards the end of the movie, right? He's the emperor of Rome, and what most people didn't know until well after his death was that he kept a journal.
Hmm.
And this journal has become one of the leading scriptures, for lack of a better term,
Okay.
that Stoicism holds on to. It's called Meditations, and at least that's
Hmm.
how it's been translated into English. And in Meditations, Marcus Aurelius, again, we have to remember this is a journal. He's not saying this to people. He's not
Oh,
saying this
interesting.
with the idea of, I'm going to share this with the world one day.
He's just reflecting.
He's just reflecting on life and how hard it is to be this emperor of Rome in this time period where Rome is clearly on the decline, and he's trying to, from, a really good place, keep the ship afloat, right? And he's dealing with these people that are trying to undermine the foundation of the Roman Empire. And even through this, he keeps this journal that has now been shared with millions of people. One of the things that Marcus wrote in this journal to himself was, you could leave life right now and let that determine what you say and do and think. And those are very powerful words to
Hmm.
have.
Can you say that one more time?
Sure, sure. You can leave life right now. Let that determine what you say and do and think.
Hmm.
And
Wow,
think
that
about
is
that.
powerful. Okay.
He's saying that to himself, right? He's reminding himself, hey, careful with getting angry, careful with being spiteful, careful with getting frustrated with these people that are trying to undermine you, because the more time you spend doing that, the less time you are spending doing the important things, the real valuable things in life. And he could die the next day. And he's reminding himself of that because at the end of that long day, he wants to be able to close that chapter and say, I did everything I could for the right reasons and for the right people. I think one of the things that is really important to remember when it comes to the idea of memento mori is that this doesn't just apply to yourself, right? It's not just, I could die tomorrow. The people that you love most in life could die tomorrow too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So why aren't we sending that text when we think about them? And you're like, oh, I could send them a text, but then you get distracted and something else happens,
Yeah.
right? Why aren't we sending that text right now? Because that could be the last text that they ever receive.
Can I share a short story related to that
Please.
almost? This is really striking home in a deep way for me. One of my the closest people in my life growing up, he's a cousin of mine. His name is Nathan, and I grew up with him very much like a brother. Nathan killed himself. He's younger than me, and I think one of the things that there are many things that taught me. One of the things that really taught me was, why didn't I say I love you more? You know what I mean? Because he meant so much to me, and I did not think about this whole memento mori concept about other people. You know what I mean? I love that you said that. We of course don't know when we'll die, but we also don't know when other people will die and what that will spark for us in how we show up or how we care for people or what we do or don't say. And so, yeah, I mean, that honestly, when you said that, it's just like really hitting me in a different way. It's
Good.
interesting.
No, it is. It's deep. And this idea of death, right? We start to remember that, it is kind of everywhere. And when I was in college, I had a friend of mine who I worked with. He was actually much older. And he was probably in his late 20s, early 30s when the rest of us were in our early 20s. So we never felt like he was, we always felt like he was a little odd. But what I didn't know was that he was really struggling with his mental health throughout that whole time. And I didn't find this out until he shared with me one of the meanings of his tattoo. And he had a semicolon going down the side of his neck. And what that represented was to pause, to reflect, and to wait and to understand that the story keeps going. And it was a reminder to himself
Wow.
that there's
That's beautiful.
an addition to this life, that this is not going to end. This is not a period. This is a semicolon.
Whoa. Okay.
About a year and a half after we graduated, I've learned through Facebook, through his wife, that unfortunately he did end up taking his own life.
Oh my God.
And the only thing I could think of, and this is so silly, but there was a time probably right before we graduated, and we've been friends on Facebook. he was sharing songs from an artist that I really like. His name is Frank Turner. And it's again very silly. All I wanted to do was comment on his post and be like, dude, I love Frank Turner. Let's, talk about that. Let's engage. And have you heard this song? What do you think of his new album? And I never did. And it always just kind of hung on to me a little bit. Nothing biting per se, but it's just a reminder that people are going to leave your life unexpectedly. And hopefully they're not the people that you love the most, but just in case they are, let's treat today like it could be tomorrow, and let's talk to those people. Let's tell the people closest in our life that, we love them. It's funny, this morning when I was doing research for this podcast, just spending, 2 hours early in the morning before my wife woke up, I had this renewed sense of appreciation for her right when she got up. And, it just made me realize, like, why don't I have that every day? Right. It took the reminder that, like, I could die tomorrow to give me that. But it's just an important reminder that, yeah, this is not just us. Right. And it could be the people we love most. So not to take this too deep, but it's hard not to be a little morbid when we're talking about death.
No, let's get deep.
There's a lot of different personal anecdotes that I could get into, but one of the things that I like to kind of reiterate when it comes to this idea of memento mori, that it's a good thing, right? The fact that that we could leave life tomorrow means that we shouldn't be spending time doing the things that don't bring us joy. And what really resonated with me as I was practicing and getting ready for this was the idea of your whole production company, risking joy, right? And this idea of living in the present moment and being open to taking risks and doing the not safe thing, maybe, right? Because could be where we get our joy from, right? And that's essentially what memento mori is. It's, hey, don't waste today with this idea that things could be better tomorrow, right? Do those things today, and tomorrow will be even better, right? It's this idea that we shouldn't be in the job that we hate just because it's stable. It's the idea that we shouldn't be in the relationship that's comfortable just because it's the only thing we have, right? To really be present and to make the most out of our life, we kind of have to remember that we're going to die. And hopefully it's in 30, 40, 60, 100 years from now, if modern medicine can take us there. But I really think that it's something that should be thought about every day, should be meditated on, thought about, prayed on, right? It's a gift. Every day we wake up, we should be grateful for that. So
can I tell you a story?
Yeah, please.
It's funny because I did not know very much about memento mori at all going into this conversation. And you had kind of just given me a little preview into, like, we're going to be talking about death basically. And so this morning, actually, on my way into town, on my drive, I was like, okay, I know we're going to be talking about death as a concept. I'm going to try to spend a little time meditating on it, just to see kind of what comes up for me and to kind of be in that head space, heart space in preparation for our conversation. So I spent a little time, and it's a nice 20-minute drive. So I had some time to kind of sit with it and see, like, what came up. Again, I don't know about memento mori really before this conversation, but I have sat and meditated on death a few times in my life. And at first it was, of course, very scary. And then over time, I think it's actually become a beautiful thing because it is a reminder of all sorts of things. It's a reminder of who matters. It's a reminder of really what matters. And as I was meditating, I also started to think about this concept for me of risking joy. And I started to go, oh, like, this for me is a way to operationalize this concept. And so now as we're talking about, I'm like, oh, this is how Jensen copes with and tries to take action on this idea of memento mori, which is, I had spent more time in my younger years really taking risks for things I wanted, even though they terrified me. Going to India by myself as a 21-year-old, moving across the country, getting an education that I didn't have the money for and took a lot of debt on to do, right? And then there are other things, of course. And then I felt like that ability to kind of dance with fear and actually do what I wanted started to kind of go away. I
Mm-hmm.
got comfortable. I had a good job with people I cared about, doing things I cared about. I really stopped taking risks for what I really wanted and let security become more important. And I don't think prioritizing security in certain aspects of your life is bad, but I definitely felt myself stagnate as a person.
Hmm.
And I think it was really in that realization that this phrase of risking joy came up for me, because I've often pondered, what does happiness mean? And I
Mm-hmm.
think happiness is too loaded of a word.
Hmm.
Happiness is this idyllic state that we sometimes describe of just feeling good all the time. And I don't actually think that's what makes us feel fulfilled as people. I think joy is actually what we're talking about. And I think the only way you can have true joy and fulfillment in your life is right alongside fear. And so that's what risking joy means to me, is what is the thing that makes you afraid that you also feel this joy kind of pulling you forward, pulling you toward it. And so I kind of reflected on death and this concept of risking joy and was like, wow, like, is my life perfect? Ha, no, far from it. But I am so at peace right now, at least at this moment in my life, with I'm doing exactly what Memento Mori would teach me that I should be doing, risking joy, right? I left my career and started a business. I've had some stuff change in my personal life that is scary and taking a risk, but is good for me, right? I'm just doing it in big and small ways and a lot of little ways. And again, even though life is very messy for me right now, I would say 10 out of 10, I feel totally in alignment with what fulfillment is. And that was weird. It was weird to realize, like, whoa, like my finances are pretty mediocre right now. And like, but my friendships and relationships are really good. And my career is very fulfilling. And I don't know. I just think that's interesting to go, like, sometimes we think the things that will really make us feel fulfilled don't matter when you sit and ponder death.
I think if you were to meditate on what you would think about if you were on your own deathbed, you would think about, what did I wish that I could have done differently in my life? I don't think you would reflect as much on all the good things or what you wanted to, or all the great times you had. You'd probably look back on the things that you wish you did differently, the conversations that you had differently, the decisions that you made differently. And I think one of the best things that you can do for your future dying self is to start making those decisions, start having those conversations today. I think one of the things that brought us together was, the idea that both of us were taking risks in our lives, changing careers, right? Going from lucrative, safe, comforting jobs, ones that we didn't have to take many risks to keep and to scale, into the abyss, right? And taking this leap into entrepreneurship in each of our respective rights is kind of honoring our future dying selves and saying, hey, I'm not going to fill my life with these regrets that of things I didn't do, for in exchange for the safety and security that they bring me. Because what we're going to realize, hopefully in a long time, is, oh, those decisions that we made, those risks that we took, those were the things that brought us the most joy. And I think that's really the crux of Memento Mori, right? Is that act today, right? Not tomorrow, not later, not when things are right, because there might not be a tomorrow or a later, or when things are right.
I think the last thing that's really swirling in my mind as we ponder death is, you know, other than sitting in meditation every once in a while, what does this really mean for like me on a daily basis? Like, what do I do with this, right? You know, other than maybe me journaling about death once a year, you know, how do I apply this in my daily life?
I think you do exactly what I asked you why you didn't do at the beginning of the podcast. I think you call those people in your life, right? I think you have those conversations, you eat that amazing food, you have that great sex, right? You be present. That's what this all means, is And it's not in a hedonistic way. I want to be very clear. This is not a, well, we're all going to die, so fuck it. This is, we're all going to die eventually, and I don't know when it is. So I want to look back on, from that day I die, I want to look back and say, I lived my life to the fullest. I was present in the moment. I love the people that I love. I had the conversations that hurt because it made me and those other people better, right? I went to the places that I always wanted to go to. I saw the things that I always wanted to see. Really just taking that and being and running with that, and knowing that means, hey, it's not every day is going to be amazing. A lot of days are going to be a lot of hard work, but as long as your compass is pointed in the right direction, then that hard work is worth it.
Where the mind goes.